Dasan ji. Now, Honorable Minister Sri Hardeep Singh Puri ji to reply the discussion.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. I would like to thank all the honourable members who have participated in this debate. Many useful points have been raised. Some of the assertions made, I suspect, require a clarification because I believe, and I say this with all humility, they are based, I think, on a selective reading of the draft legislation before us. I would like to thank in particular Shri Shakti Singh Gohil ji, Shri Chunnilal Garasia ji, Madam Dola Sen ji, Shri Ilango ji, Shri Yaram Venkata Subbareddy ji, Shri Manas Ranjan Mangaraj ji, Tiru Tamidorai ji, Shri Ghanshyam Tiwari ji, Dr. Kalpana Saini ji, Madam Fauzia Khan ji, Shri Sikandar Kumar ji, Shri P.P. Sunil ji, Shri Mahendra Bhatt ji, Shri Sanjay Sethi ji, Shri Sanjay Singh ji, and Dr. V. Siva Dasan ji. Many of the points made by honourable members have, in terms of nuance, also been repeated by others. So instead of responding to each of the points made by each speaker, I will take them in a broad category, and it will be my endeavour, sir, to respond to all the points made. Sir, when I was introducing the amendment and the draft bill, I had said with all humility that I want to do some context setting. The oil and gas sector, sir, as I mentioned, is one that involves heavy investments and also has a long gestation period. And it was not my intention, nor did I ever suggest that nothing was done prior to 2014. But I did suggest, and I will say that more emphatically now, that we allowed the eye to be taken off the ball, and we paid the price for that. Now, lest this becomes a political debate, let me provide a context to what I said in terms of some annotation. Sir, the period between 2006 and 14 is termed by all those who have even a nodding acquaintance with this sector of energy, the dull period between 2006 and 14. And why? And I'll just give you some examples. If any honourable member wants to have it in more detail, I'll be happy to send a detailed paper. During this period, many foreign companies, and I want to assure all my members on the left of the House, of the spectrum, my close friends, that this is not about handing over to the corporate sector. This is not about taking the powers of the states away. The petroleum mining leases will still have to be granted by the state governments, no matter what changes are brought by this. We are not changing the constitution. Now, what happened between 2006 and 14? Italian major Eni left India E&P sector as they were not allowed to carry out operations in Rajasthan as well as in Andaman offshore. Australian company BHP Billiton relinquished their blocks in Mumbai offshore area, which were expropriated by defence agencies. Another Australian company, Santos, was not allowed to work in Bengal offshore due to maritime border disputes with Bangladesh. British Gas and Kane Group also relinquished their few blocks in KG and Mumbai offshore due to restrictions imposed by the defence agency. Sir, I had asserted at the outset that this sector, which involves heavy investment, has about 5 major oil companies in the world, and almost all of them came here and were driven away from the country. I'm not saying that this was a willful act, but this was a natural consequence of the kind of policies we followed, sir. One of the major challenges during this period, sir, was the non-availability of drilling rigs. And the government introduced a rig holiday policy in 2010 to allow moratorium from 2008 January to 31 December 2010 for drilling of 31 exploration wells in deep water. No procurement of rigs or no express import of rigs was allowed. Sir, you've got out of 3.5 million square kilometers of sedimentary basin, 1 million square kilometer you close. It's a no-go area. Nobody can enter. And on the remaining area, you put in restriction. If the oil majors will not go away, what will they do? They haven't come here for philanthropy. So I just want to make it absolutely clear as to why the period before that, I used a very polite term, that we allowed the eye to be taken off the ball. And I can be a little more direct. This was neglect of E&P. This was neglect bordering on criminal neglect. And we are paying the price for it now. Then came 2014. That is when the policies began to change. That is when production sharing agreements gave way to revenue sharing agreements. And sir, one of the most important things in the E&P sector is data. No data is available. So if a foreign major comes and tries to drill here, you tell them, please come and spend your money and drill. If you find the oil after spending a lot of money, and I use the figure, sometimes a deep water well costs $100 million. If you find it, oh, this is my sovereign asset, I will keep it. Thank you very much. It's only in 2014 things started changing. My distinguished colleague will know in 2015-16 they introduced major changes. They introduced revenue sharing agreements. Then a little later we cleaned up 1 million square kilometers of the sedimentary basin, which was no-go. Sir, the honourable member also asked, well, some others did also, what is new in the bill? I'll just quickly reel off some points. Stability of lease, dispute resolution has been made much more objective and quick, definition of updation, single lease, decriminalization of provisions, penalty increments, sharing of infrastructure so that the smaller players can take advantage, and carbon emission, capture, sequestration, all these are all new provisions in the bill, sir. Sir, there are some points which have been made, I suspect, on account of a selective or perhaps not a careful reading of the bill. Arbitration continues for disputes under lease and contract. Adjudication has only been introduced for violation of acts and rules which are framed thereunder. And there is a saving clause which protects existing contracts and agreements, as was pointed out. Sir, a reference was made to helium. And I just want to point out, sir, that the honourable member specifically referred to helium. And I want to say that mineral oils means any naturally occurring hydrocarbon. Any naturally occurring hydrocarbon. Helium is not a hydrocarbon, but an elemental gas. Nothing in this Act prohibits the development of comprehensive energy projects under special schemes created with concerned ministries such as the Department of Atomic Energy and Ministry of Earth Sciences. So I think that point on helium is to, if I may be permitted to say, sir, a specious point. Rules for sharing data, Directorate General of Hydrocarbons for better monitoring, sharing of infrastructure to enable small operators to make use of existing infrastructure and not make any unnecessary heavy infrastructure investment in new infrastructure when an infrastructure is already available. All this is new. Sir, a reference was also made to a CAG report on Mumbai High. And I just wanted to say precisely because of that report, I was talking about the recent period, sir. I was taken off the ball. The dull period between 2006 and 14. The reference to Mumbai High is, I think, 1974. Mumbai High was, when I joined the Foreign Service, 1974. Those three, yes, they are producing. But why are they producing 59% of the existing resources? Because we are using technology and investment to put pressure into those wells to get more and more out of those wells. And I may submit, sir, also, that in any discovered field, after the first year, production can decline by 4% or even little more. Over a period of time, the decline is much more. Precisely because of the CAG report and other information that we got, that we were able to utilize the technology, investment in order to better and optimally utilize those fields. Sir, let me, sir, move on to some of the references which have been made to other energies here later. But before I do that, I think Madame Dola Sen raised the point of our strategic petroleum reserves being only enough to cover 7 days of utilization. Deputy Chairman, sir, I don't know where this fact is coming. I know a little bit about strategic petroleum reserves, SPRs. The reserve itself just now covers 72 days. We are trying to take it up to the international norm. But apart from that, we have a refining capacity today of something like 258.6 million metric tons per annum. We are taking it up to 310 million metric tons per annum. We have crude oil on our tankers, in the refineries, etc. So I want to assure the honourable member that these reserves that we are talking about are way above what is required should there be an emergency, and we have been able to navigate this quite well so far. Sir, I also want to now raise some issues about import of energy. We are not diversifying. We are very dependent. The facts are very different, sir. The facts are that for many years, our import, if you look at our imports in terms of source, they came from 27 countries. Today, sir, they're coming from 39 countries. And the world is changing, sir. There is more hydrocarbons being produced in the Western Hemisphere. I'm talking about Brazil. I'm talking about Guyana. I'm talking about Canada. I'm talking about the United States. We import $20 billion of energy from the United States. We consume, sir, on an average 5.4 million barrels of crude oil in a day. And as I submitted, sir, that import is going to go up because our economy is growing at 6.5%, and energy is the driving force of GDP growth in many respects. Now, how is this? Earlier, that 5 million barrels a day was to be equally divided between 5 or 6 suppliers: Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE. But then the crisis took place, geopolitical turbulence took place in February 2022. Suddenly, Russian oil became available at discounted prices. Now, we don't take a decision in the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas as to where we should import from. Our traders in the private sector, well-known companies, our oil marketing companies, they float tenders for import of oil at the point of importation. Wherever they get the crude from and the grade of crude that they're looking for, they will import from there. So the availability from one source because of the cheaper oil available has gone up. One honourable member, sir, said there were sanctions on Russian oil. I'm not aware of any sanction. There was a perception sought to be built up by one part of the world, I won't name them, that, you know, we should not, well, Western Europe, other parts, yes. They said, you know, you should not buy from them. My colleague, the External Affairs Minister, was traveling on a foreign trip, and we had a chat before he left. And I told him, if he had an opportunity to be asked, to say that at that point of time, they were buying more in one afternoon than we were buying in a quarter. And believe me, even today, there is Russian oil coming in through a pipeline to Hungary. It was coming in. It's going to the Far East. So the energy business and the oil and gas business is very complicated. The Honourable Prime Minister has ensured that availability, there was not a single instance in the last 10 years when oil was not, or crude, or petrol or diesel was not available. And affordable. I have a chart here which compares Indian prices with global prices. How in India the price has come down over the last 3 years. Globally it's gone up. Why? Because the central government reduced excise duty. And the BJP-ruled states brought down their VAT. Shri Sanjay Singh ji is not here. He's talking about prices in Delhi. I want to remind him how it happened. Delhi, the prices were higher than in the neighboring state. So all my friends with big cars and big tanks used to go to Gurgaon and to other parts nearby Delhi and fill up and come back. So when the dealers realized that they were being shortchanged because of the pricing, that's how it came down. Not because of desire to provide the citizens of Delhi free or cheaper petrol. Sir, we were talking about other energies. पहले क्या हुआ था, आप उसको minimize नहीं कीजिए, हम तो कभी करते ही नहीं हैं. Sir, 2014 में, let me talk about gas. Our gas production, I'm talking about natural gas, is going up by 18% every year, sir. 18% is going up. We are still dependent 50%. Again, I come to the same thing. This has a long gestation period. If in 2000 and 2005 and 10, some far-sighted decisions had been taken, today we would not be in the situation of even having to import 50%. Just now in a recent discovery, ONGC is producing or going to produce very soon 40,000 barrels a day off the Kakinada coast. I can give you many other examples. Sir, let me come to cylinder gas. Natural gas is, as per definition, natural gas. But there is LPG, which is a byproduct of work done in a refinery. Today, sir, India is supplying a cylinder of gas at the most economical prices anywhere in the world. Sir, in 2014, there were 14 crore connections of LPG. And a connection of LPG means, sir, एक परिवार को एक connection मिलता है, तो एक परिवार में अगर 4-5 घर के लोग होंगे, तो मान लीजिए अगर 14 करोड़ कनेक्शन है, आज वो 33 करोड़ बढ़ गया. 14 करोड़ से चलता चलता 33 करोड़ हो गया. Which means virtually the entire population is covered now through LPG. And then we are also introducing piped gas, which is about 25% cheaper. 2014 में 25 लाख कनेक्शन थे, आज 1 करोड़ 25 लाख है. बट सर द इशू इज किस दाम पे हम लोग प्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं. माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने क्या किया, जो तो उज्ज्वला योजना के लाभार्थी हैं, उनको एक परिवार को एक दिन के लिए कुकिंग मीडियम मिलता है कोई 5-6 रुपए में, और जो लाभार्थी नहीं है, जो नॉर्मल सिलेंडर लेते हैं, उनको मिलता है 14-15 रुपए में. सर, नोवेयर इन द वर्ल्ड इज क्लीन कुकिंग फ्यूल बीइंग प्रोवाइडेड एट दिस कॉस्ट to the entire population of the country. Sir, I can say this with complete. दूसरे बायोफ्यूल्स पे आते हैं सर. 2014 में टोटल बायोफ्यूल ब्लेंडिंग देश में 1.4% थी सर. बड़ी मेहनत की 2014 की पहली सरकार में, हमने भी उसमें कंट्रीब्यूट किया. जब मैं ब्राजील में पोस्टेड था, हमने कोशिश की कि हमारे 10 स्टेट्स में कम से कम 5% बायोफ्यूल ब्लेंडिंग हो, पर हम नहीं कर पाए क्योंकि इकोसिस्टम नहीं था. आज के दिन सर, पिछले महीने बायोफ्यूल ब्लेंडिंग एथेनॉल 16.9%, और हमारा टारगेट था, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा कि 2030 तक हमें 20% ब्लेंडिंग करनी है. सर, बिकॉज ऑफ द सक्सेस ऑफ 10% ब्लेंडिंग, वी वर एबल टू ब्रिंग दैट टारगेट ऑफ 20% फ्रॉम 2030 टू 2025. और मैं दावे से कहता हूं, बाय द टाइम वी फिनिश दिस एथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग ईयर, अक्टूबर 25 तक हमारी 20% हो जाएगी. हाँ, मेरे एक सीनियर कॉलीग जो मेरे से पहले 7 साल ही लुक्ड आफ्टर दिस पोर्टफोलियो, सही कह रहे हैं. इसका इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट क्या हुआ? व्हेन वी डिड 10% ब्लेंडिंग सर, वी सेव 91,000 करोड़, और वो 91,000 करोड़ हमारे किसान भाइयों को गया. सो इनफैक्ट द ऊर्जा scene has also contributed to our agricultural sector. और जब हम 20% ये blending करने जा रहे हैं बहुत जल्दी, this figure will be even higher. Sir, green hydrogen is another story. And green hydrogen success, that is a fuel of the future. India, green hydrogen will succeed, sir, because India has both the demand, it will have the production, and it will have the consumption. हमारी companies ने already green ammonia के export कर दिए. अब सवाल ये पूछता है कि इसमें आप सेंटर वांट्स टू यूज अप द पावर ऑफ द स्टेट, ये कहां लिखा है इस बिल में? मैंने तो देखा, मुझे मिला नहीं. जब मैं ये सुन रहा था तो मैंने एक नोट भेजा अपने सहयोगियों को. मैंने कहा कुछ ऐसा बिल में कुछ आपने ऐसा तो नहीं लिखा. देयर नथिंग इन दिस बिल लाइक दैट. हम टर्मिनोलॉजी चेंज कर रहे हैं सर. ये 1948 की जो लेजिस्लेशन है, दैट वाज डिजाइन्ड फॉर मिनरल्स एंड मेटल्स. In 1957, we created a separate bill for minerals and metals, but इसको उसी में अभी आ रहा. So we need to change the terminology. और मैंने जो नई चीज है उसके बारे में बताया, ease of business के बारे में बताया. और मैं आपको, sir, through you, I want to assure this house, the fact that we have already taken steps. 2016 में production sharing contracts became revenue sharing contracts. 1 million square kilometer हमने open किया है. अभी हम जो चेंज करने जा रहे हैं, हमारे OALP 9th राउंड में 38% जो बिड्स आई हैं, दे केम इन दैट 1 million square kilometers which was opened up in 2022. This bill, once it's enacted into law, it will ensure that the investor will have more confidence to come here. that unlike the dull period between 2006 and 14, जब वो आए तो उनका expropriate कर लिया, कुछ कर लिया, वो चीजें नहीं होंगी. एक ही लीज होगी, एक ही लाइसेंस होगा, और अगर डिस्प्यूट हुई तो डिस्प्यूट मैनेज करने के लिए भी there will be predictability and stability. So this is why I could go on, sir, for another half an hour to raise the other points, but I suspect, let me see, sir, if there are. Sir, I think I've covered the main points, and I have made a careful note. After this bill is passed by this House and the Lok Sabha, I will be personally writing letters to each of the members who have raised the other issues, so that there is no doubt. Government has nothing to hide on this. This is a win-win legislation for the states. One issue was raised just now, one point, कि एक मैं उसको जरा आंसर करना चाहूंगा डिटेल में कि ऑयल इंडिया ने एक कॉम्पनसेशन नहीं दिया because there was a fire somewhere. I want to assure you a total of 102 crores was paid out by way of compensation to all categories of people, and what is more, 102.74 crores was paid to the affected families, and even those who were not directly affected. When we were told that because of some flooding in the fields, etc., another 52 lakhs was deposited. Sir, all this bogey which is being raised about environmental assessment, land, people being compensated, sir, ये तो state government की responsibility है. ONGC ने सर 2018 के आसपास कुछ डिस्कवरीज की एक स्टेट में, चाहे तो मैं नाम भी ले लूंगा स्टेट में, वेस्ट बंगाल में की डिस्कवरीज. नहीं, आप सुन लीजिएगा, आप मैं और एक मेंबर ने पूछा, मैं उसी का जवाब दे रहा हूं. तो उस समय जब उन्होंने डिस्कवरी की तो उस समय सिर्फ 5 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर का एरिया था. उन्होंने बड़ी चिट्ठियां लिखी है, नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न जोनल काउंसिल में भी ये बात आई. उन्होंने उसके बाद 2 और कर लिए डिस्कवरीज, 3 और कर लिए, और जो एरिया है डिस्कवरी का वो 5 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर से 99 स्क्वायर किलोमीटर चल गया. अब जो क्वेरी वहां से आती है वो ये है कि इसमें डिस्प्लेसमेंट, ये तो आपको करना है. मैं सिर्फ इतना ही कहना चाहूंगा आपके माध्यम से कि अगर इसको आपने इंप्लीमेंट नहीं किया, आप में किसी स्टेट ने नहीं किया, तो दे स्टैंड टू लूज समथिंग लाइक 7,000-8,000 crores. The money would belong in terms of revenue and in terms of equity to the state government. They are losing the money. So I want to assure everyone, sir, this legislation changes the terminology, it brings in predictability, stability, and there is no attempt to reward any big person or like. This is a national asset, and I think if we don't exploit the national asset now, because our energy needs are such, there may come a time after 10-15 years when there will be a lid put on all fossil fuel utilization, when they say only green energy can be used. I am confident, sir, that in India, we will need fossil fuels at least for another 20 years. My senior colleague can correct me, but we need to bring this legislation here in order to provide a win-win confidence, not only to our own operators, but also to the foreign investors, so that they can come and do business here with a view to benefiting everyone. I thank you, sir. I commend the bill for adoption.
Thank you. Honorable members, the question is that the oil fields regulation